Okay, so here's the thing. What I wanted to show you really quick is my bed was over here by the window. And I really liked it because eventually I put Christmas lights up here. Here's my schoolgirl. Do you remember that? It's one of my favorite videos that I ever made. I wish I would have had this camera at the time. And maybe someday I'll redo a video similar to that with my music. It speaks volumes to me. The schoolgirl. I outgrew some of this stuff, but I still like to model a little bit. I used to wear my schoolgirl outfit a lot. With that being said, lollipop, lollipop, oh lolly, lollipop, lollipop, boom, 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 boom. My bed was over here. I had Christmas lights on the wall. Can I tell you that when I came here and I first put the bed here, I was grateful because the bed was mine over at Huber Heights. The dresser with the mirror. And the dresser over here, as well as the chair I was telling you I sit on, were all gifts to me in my life. We have a history. I have a history with this stuff. And I remember how each piece of furniture came into my life while I was at Huber Heights. And I know other people, like my girlfriend Emily, had shared some of this furniture. It seemed like only yesterday, today, that all this came to pass since coming out here to Ohio in 2009. And can I tell you, so I was very grateful for that. Had 2 men in the truck come and bring my furniture here for me. But can I tell you that when I finally had this set up, I didn't move in right away. In fact, I waited a few months, and then the pressure came on me over at Huber Heights. I have to move. So I came over here, and can I tell you the same feeling I had when I showed up in Ohio, that I am far away from everything I ever come to know. But now I felt like I was going even further, and the tears were falling down my cheek, and I was hurting more and more. I didn't want to move far away from everything to begin with, and I didn't want to move even further. And I always wanted to live in a bigger city, like Hollywood, Los Angeles, or down in Nashville. I wanted to live in a bigger city where I felt like I had a higher chance of connecting with people with similar passions for that of entertainment and music. It was like my only hope. I can't just live in a tiny little city my whole life, meaning London, Pennsylvania. So, with that being said, Hollywood changed for me because I realized that my real heart was more towards specific music. So I was always confused between the bigger cities where I should relocate. New York, LA, Nashville. Was it going to be, am I going to be just a songwriter? Am I going to be more of a poppy rocky? Am I going to still be a guitar player or a recording artist? What am I going to do? Did it really matter where I lived if I was either one of them? And the thing is then at some point when things weren't working out, when I was living with Catherine and I went to Huber Heights, I started thinking about moving to Nashville. And I made trips to Nashville, and I really loved Nashville. I had a problem with somebody I met that's very corrupted, who goes down and he's a predator on people in Nashville. And he has the means to listen to the songwriters. Technology to listen to you when you're down there playing. And they use people's ideas. And depending who you are, especially if they see you as being the possibility of somebody of greatness that can rise up, they will try to intimidate you by scaring you, by showing you that they know exactly what you're doing in the privacy of your home. So if you're down in Nashville and you're writing songs, I'm planning on sharing my life story down there about what happened to me while I was there. You will find out that nothing you do in the privacy of your home is in secret. Make sure you timestamp and copyright all of your material. Be careful if you post anything online. If you do Dropbox, if you do Google, these people have direct access. Google and Dropbox and Facebook and YouTube are all corrupted. Meaning, psychopaths like the one I met have direct access to my accounts, not just in logging on with my username. I'm talking about they have direct access to the actual account. They will delete files, they will change the views on your accounts of your videos, they will hide things, put them in private, they will literally remove videos, pictures, you name it. That's how corrupted the music business is. And it's not people that you may think it is. It's really people that very rarely, but most likely, will show you their face. And if they do, right, they'll wait for a few years before they reveal to you that they're watching you. And most likely were for a long time before they got to meet you. I don't know why the leadership of this country does not do something about it. Do you think they're in on it? How much of it, the details, do you think they know? I can't wait to share my Tennessee. I may have, in fact, I have a place to go down to Tennessee just outside of Nashville. Somebody very kind who shared a lot of my Nashville, Tennessee stays a lot more enjoyable. So I'm very grateful, and I'll be contacting them in the future, in a month or two maybe. Because I still have some other things to work on. It might not be till spring of next year. I'm hoping to make my music video for Memphis Blues. It'll be great. Now here's the thing. My bed was setting up here, and I came through that door. And I came over here like a little tiny kid, and I fell with my head in the pillow, and I cried. And I cried. I don't want to live here. I wanted to live in Los Angeles. But let me tell you, and this was running through my head, I wanted to live in Los Angeles, but after everything I went through on the busking, and I realized people in the entertainment industry, they were watching me even when I was in Los Angeles. They came up to me and they mentioned to me that the people that were laying on the beach infested with lice, that they did it to themselves. He said, they did it to themselves, Tracilyn, when I was observing them. And they would come to me when I was down in Florida. They come to me no matter where I am in or in America, and I'm sure if I went to other countries. In other words, NASA has satellites way up there, or whoever, whatever company, Chinese is it? There's equipment up there, and they use it. And there's a secret, if you will, government. They kind of govern over the people, so you don't physically see them. You may start becoming more and more aware that you have been being watched ever since the day you were born, okay, by other people. Ever have that sensation? I remember talking to different people even when I was younger, and they said the same thing, that they felt like it. There you go. I'm convinced it's true. So I did not move to California because a lot of that had some to do with it. Now, here's the thing. Then also as a songwriter, I realized I'm just going to record my music myself. I don't think Tennessee at this time is the place to go, not after what I witnessed and experienced. And I'm glad that I didn't move down there, can I tell you. Then I decided finally when I was busking for a couple years actually, in my cat outfit and, different attire. I would go down to the Oregon District, and I would go to Fountain Square, and then I would go to Yellow Springs. And knowing that these people are watching me and all this other stuff, I decided what was best for me, since I had to move fast and I had to actually go physically see the apartment. I don't think we have anything together yet for low income that we can actually go on to the website and we could actually take a 360 tour of low income apartments. Maybe someday in the future people will get programs together and we'll be able to look at apartments online and submit information, and it'll be a lot nicer and easier to relocate in America because I'm an American citizen, leaders of this country. And I don't have to stay at one city for the rest of my life because I had nowhere else to go. That's a sad story, considering I'm as young as I am yet. And even still, and I apologize for saying that. How about just period? It's a sad story, but there. Now, when I realized that I didn't have enough time to actually pick out a nice apartment in Cincinnati, I had to take whatever I could get, and then I told you what happened with the height and the small windows and the small apartment, and there was no bathtub, and even though I don't take a bath that much right now, I was hoping that I could take bubble baths and things like that, and I've kind of been neglecting myself a lot. Candles, I like candles and bubble baths. And I haven't been giving it to myself. The first year I did when I moved here, and then it kind of slipped up because I'm working on my art, and I go to doctors a lot, and I go bike riding, and I try to personal therapy all the time. But I've been neglecting the bathtub part. Now, with that being said, I came here and I cried because I felt like I was moving further and further and further away from everything. I finally got up and I realized I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to record my music myself, you see, because I was hoping to be a songwriter. That's why I was going down to Nashville. Meaning I was hoping, just like any other songwriter, we all hope for that day we can submit a song and get a publishing deal and have some really well-known recording artist sing our song and we can hear it on the radio and know that what? Something tells us at that point we did it. We finally did it. Years we wanted to hear our song on the radio. Can I tell you no more? If any recording artist in the mainstream industry sings my song, personally I'd like to break their legs. Don't sing my songs. I'll sing my songs. Bunch of jerks. I didn't have to go through a lot of stuff, because I'm an incredible songwriter. So I didn't have to go through as much homelessness and stuff. If you understood the royalties and the things involved in music in itself, even if it's only short term, 6 months, a year, blah, 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 etc., depending on the song. I have major hit songs. They're not small. It would have been something to aid me during my time. And then other things would have been figured out along the way. Selfish of you people in the publishing industry for not helping me or working with me. See, because somebody came to me when I was busking and they said, what? We don't help people who can't help themselves. I think I helped myself pretty good as a songwriter. Now where's the publisher at? Well, it's too late for that. Now I'm the publisher. For VCAP Productions. That's my company. And I do it for who? Tracilyn. And I'll give myself awards and everything now. Or just do it for you. I do it for Tracilyn. My recording artist extraordinaire. You can laugh if you want. It's okay. More coming. Here's the thing. Check this out. So, I came in here in the studio and I decided I was going to start recording on this. Believe it or not, my albums were recorded with an HP laptop. That is my studio. An HP laptop? That wasn't my idea of a recording studio. But can I tell you something? I worked with other producers throughout my life. And I have been in, my uncle was in a very well-known quartet, so was my grandfather, all their lives. And I got to, different people's studios, even at mega churches, all of that. I was always drawn to these things. My hope was someday I would have an amazing recording studio. Maybe at my house, maybe in town, in like one of those really cool buildings like you would see in LA or something. But in the town I live in, people would be able to go by and know that's Tracilyn's recording studio. Wouldn't that be cool? So I'm a fantasizer. I think of these things, and I think of the joy it gives children when they're riding their bike or people driving by, and they can just simply point out one building and they say that's so-and-so's recording studio. It brings joy into people's lives in many different ways. Your life, their life, the town's life. Especially if the intent, in my opinion, is, well, if you have great music and it comes out of there, people are going to love it. So, Playfully Purple ended up going, actually the name of the album, Tracilyn, ended up going to Playfully Purple. I'm hoping someday that I will be able to get the means to be able to bulk produce them. I've always wanted to have a complete album and have them bulk in CD cases and saran wrap, with a barcode number on it, lyrics included, maybe a little poster or something, and some small insight or inspirational note within it, or photos or whatever. But I did not. I only made a very basic because I realized during this time that my privacy was being invaded. Now, are they coming through watching me on my cam, on my computer, do you think? Do you think they're watching me on my smart TV? Do you think they're watching me via satellite through the window in a laser type? unseen to the eye. Unless, when you look at here, at my plastic drawer, you will find out that I noticed that a white laser light coming in an angle shoots across my plastic every once in a while. This is the same light that you will see in my Holy video and some of my other videos. There's like 1 or 2 round circles, like a laser light, and it's like it follows me around to get into my head, meaning they read off of your brain and they communicate. It's a communications device of some sort that is either by the Air Force, military, or it's by NASA or abroad, another country. What do you think it is? Is it things that they use to, is it an attack on humanity? Is it, do you think they can use it for guidance as well, like even in political realms? Like communication to get them to talk what they want them to say? For all kinds of things. Okay? With that being said, I realized that I was being watched very, very closely on the streets, and now I realized here in my home, slowly, I'm starting to have the sensation that I am being watched. So I didn't know what to think because I am in a low-income building. That's number one. So I didn't know, did it have something to do with the government? What do you think this has to do with? Okay, what did I do that would make people want to stalk me like that? A lot of times when people think you're an advocate, and an advocate is somebody who speaks up, not against anything, but they speak up for causes they believe in my opinion, then they start to become known in, a secret society, what they call Illuminati's idea of an advocate, and then they target the advocate to torment them, to destroy their life, maybe to try to get them to commit suicide or to go crazy. Like, did you ever think that sometimes when world disasters happen, that maybe somebody's mind was under the influence of a great deal of stress and torture, mental torture, that if they didn't do certain acts that they were being instructed to, that they would just continue to put the pressure on them to torture them and destroy their lives? Could be, right? We might be surprised. If you feel like somebody's tampering with your thoughts, make sure that you check in once in a while with yourself, and in my opinion, on a moment-to-moment basis. Check and recheck. If it's ever something that's against anything that's not love, I mean love for your neighbor, love for yourself, this love for life, know this, the thoughts that might be in opposition of that loving may be because somebody's targeting your brain and trying to get you to have an artificial way dominancy of thought in your head, so that you don't live in that love. In my opinion, humans are meant to be of pure love, and we love each other, we really love ourselves, and we really love life. However, when people attack Satanists, the Illuminati, the secret society, when they attack with the lasers and satellite and stuff, and they attack on your brain, and they kind of like stimulate it with something kind of like a small jolt of electricity, and I forget what they call those meters, like if you go to a massage therapist, that's kind of what it feels like. There's like a tingling that goes through your body, and it sends a numb sensation on the right side. Like I noticed for me, it's more on the right side of my head, in the back, and I can feel like it might be starting up in here, like there might be, maybe, there might be a chip somewhere inside here that they stuck up my nose. When I was in the hospital in 2009 in a mental institution, they injected me with Haldol. When they injected me with Haldol, I fell asleep. When I woke up, my sister was on the other side of the door. This was when I was extremely aggressive, and the cops actually took me into the hospital, and I could not, I was so stressed out that they had to knock me out. Okay, I was aggressive. Not mean like fighting them, but I was just screaming and mad about everything. I didn't want to go to the mental institution. Okay, they're not scary. Don't be like that. In fact, if you live in Dayton, I will go with you if you want me to. If you're hurting and you want somebody to go with you to a hospital because you're scared, you know, I don't mind checking you in at the emergency room, whoever you are, because I know what it's like. You need somebody there. If you're suicidal, don't commit suicide. Okay, chances are you might be under attack by these people, or you might be dealing with other things that got stuck on a wheel of meditation. Don't do it. Okay? Suicide is not the answer. You want life. That's what everyone wants. Being here and witnessing what I witnessed when I was busking on the street, not to mention I knew it was this person, Stephen C. Johnson, that I met in Nashville, Tennessee at the Commodore, okay, with Debbie Champion's open mic night at that time in 2010. I could reflect back on our conversations we had. This person was tied in with Willie Nelson, okay, because his Lucky Films, if you will, or whatever it was, Luck Films or Lucky Films, production crew, some of the members there, or new members, were there. And I talked to them, very nice people. However, was it so nice when I realized later on that I'm getting submissions by people in Cincinnati through my email, people that might be in a record company, if you will, kind of lawyer, attorney, kind of professional appearance, letting me know that I'm kind of like Willie Nelson's old connection with the Poco guy. I forget what his name is and what the song was, but basically they were trying to let me know that I'll be nothing more than somebody, which is it's not belittling, right? Nothing more than somebody who plays their guitar in house parties or in people's houses to just 2 or 3 people. Not to mention, not only that, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I play my guitar all the time in my apartment, and I'm very thankful for it. I did my share of playing live in front of hundreds of people, you know, and I had my time of fun. Okay, I wanted to do different things with my talents. I wanted to be a worship leader, a praise and worship leader. Even here in Dayton, when I first came here, when things weren't working out the way that I was trying to get them to work out, in my faith, good faith of what I thought the Almighty God was leading me to, can I tell you, that's how I ended up now recording my own music. In my Dayton, Ohio, Playfully Purple, and Dayton, Ohio, USA, came to... It's Playfully Purple in Dayton, Ohio, USA. I ended up making a combination of the songs. There's like 23 songs on this, I think. At least 23 songs. 2018, Tracilyn 2018. It is not a greatest hits album or a CD. It's actually just a combination of a whole lot of songs that I put on there, as many as I could, or I felt reasonably would be to share the 2 albums, a representation of the 2 albums together with the songs on. Now here's the thing, my studio projects. Now here's the thing, and I continue to keep working on my music videos and stuff afterwards, but while I was recording my one song, Let Your Love Flood Through My Soul, can I tell you, when I was in Huber Heights in 2010, when I was in the front bedroom, I had a dream, and in that dream, it was like a choir of angels that were singing, Jesus, Jesus. And I woke up, and I mentioned about the out-of-body experience with God and everything, and I wrote the song, Let Your Love Flood Through My Soul, and I named it Jesus, Let Your Love Flood Through My Soul. And it was in regards to the situation that happened to me in Sacramento, California. In Sacramento, California, I was walking down the street when literally an officer harassed me. And it was life traumatizing. In other words, I suffered from PTSD and traumatized by police. I was humiliated by police when I had false prostitution charges put on me. I had other situations that happened with police, okay? This is from me traveling all over the United States and constantly when I was crossing paths with people in the police forces. I was realizing that they are not being very kind to me. There could be a chance, a small chance, maybe a big chance, that the people, the Satanists that have been invading my privacy, they can get into the thoughts of other people, of anybody they want to. And I'm almost convinced it's like they can put you into like a humanoid. Like they can temporarily use your body. I don't know this to be true or not, but like they would use other people's bodies or manipulate their thought process to try to communicate with you. Now, what do you think of that? Do you think that might be true or not true? It kind of makes you nervous when you realize about that. So it's important that you know your own thoughts. If it's nothing of love, then there's a good chance that it's either an outside force, satanic, or maybe it's an undesirable thought that you need to back away from. Meaning, if it's trying to destroy one of your relationships, for instance, you kick somebody out of your life, meaning you tell somebody, I don't want to be in your life anymore. Make sure you double check and recheck. Are you sure you really mean that? Maybe somebody's watching you and they're tampering with your thoughts and they're trying to convince you that you don't want that person in your life. I believe that happened in our household, more so than not. Why is that? Because when I reflect back now, I think to myself, why would any of us not want each other in our lives? Okay? And I see what some people are going through, the depression, or aggressive behavior, like bipolar personality disorder, like I get. And I'll tell you that mine is, I've been seeing, talking openly to doctors about it, and it's because I know, I am convinced, and if you look at online, I am being harassed and I'm being stalked via satellite. And I'm convinced that there's a chip inside of us. We might be at birth, or mine might have happened in 2009 when I was checked into a hospital emergency room and put to sleep. And then when I woke up, meaning with Haldol, when they injected me with that to calm me down, side effect to it, or one of the symptoms of it is you go to sleep almost instantly. That's how much they injected in me. Unfortunately. Now, with that being said, I realized that when I was recording that song, Let Your Love Flood Through My Soul, I had my guitar, one of my guitars, and I was playing this song to try to figure it out. I never wanted to necessarily be a producer. I am now. So I'm trying to figure out how. I didn't have nobody to bounce ideas off with this song structure and how the melody line should go, and maybe some of the melody line parts. I wanted to make sure I captured raw feeling to the song. So it starts off, Jesus, Jesus, let your love flood through my soul. Listen to it. I'll do it. My studio at Tracilyn. We come into Tracilyn Music, and then we go into Dayton, Ohio, USA, and here we go. I call it Flood Through My Soul now. Do you see that? There it is. Flood Through My Soul, number 16. There it is. Okay, so anyway, I had a really hard time with that part. Even now, just off the top of my head, I'd have to sit down with the guitar and I'd probably do it different than that recording. Why that is I wanted to make sure I captured it, and I didn't want it to sound, believe it or not, this is going to sound bizarre, right? But I didn't want the intro to sound like it was polished professional. I wanted to have some kind of rawness, like it was a group of people that just pretty much came together the first time, and not that it was sloppy, it's just that, it just had that, what would you call it? It just not simply the opposite of being a polished or professional sound. I really did not want to capture that in the intro of the song until it got going, and then I wanted to kind of build it up. So I don't want to say amateurish, but I guess that might be it. Underdeveloped. I really did want to capture that, and I thought I captured it well. But here's the thing: while I was doing it, I had I fell on my face here on the floor. After I was done, I was finally done. And someday I'll let you hear the recording. If you want to hear it, let me know and I'll make a video of it. Because I did another version of it. And it was actually, I practiced on it for a while with my microphone and my guitar. And I kept trying it. I wanted to capture exactly the truest feeling in my mind. And let me tell you, when I finally did it, I was exhausted. I've been working my butt off ever since I came here in 2014. This was at least a year later. So this was probably sometime in 2000, 2015, 2016, early 2016 maybe, and wow, I fell right on my face here, and I pretty much believe that I cried, and I had no energy whatsoever. It was the most challenging thing. Recording some of these songs were very, very challenging to me, in the fact that I knew that I wanted to record them really, really bad ever since I wrote them. Actually, I was hoping that my songs, some of my songs, anyway, not all of them, but some of my songs, I was hoping that I would only have to record, as less as possible, meaning just sing it into, on one track with a guitar and one track with me singing, and hopefully some recording artist or something would sing them, and I'd get to hear what they sound like that way. It did not work out like that. And then I was also hoping at different times that maybe I could get a band together and we could do it together as a team. And can I tell you, it didn't work out like that. And I'm glad it didn't. At the end of the day, even though I collapsed here, at the end of the day, I realized that the very best for me as a recording artist, very best in many, many ways, is to find your vocal key, practice the songs over and over and over and over again, toy around with them, try them different ways, different chords, different tempos, like a fast song, slow song. Try maybe finger picking, maybe strumming them, bar chords. Punk it up a little bit. Try different things. But be honest with yourself. How do you love it? And usually it goes back to close to how you wrote the song originally, in my opinion, is what I did anyway. Most of the songs, not all of them, ended up going back to the original way that I wrote the songs. Now, with that being said, I had a long ways to go, because not only did I record what came to be one album, I think was, 17 songs. And the other album was 11. So that's 28 songs recorded in my studio. In the beginning, when I started off in November of 2014, I did not have a DAW other than Cool Edit. If you know what Cool Edit is, it's a very, very, very basic program to use from years ago, early 2000s, to lay down some tracks. And I'm sure a lot of people did a lot of amazing stuff with it, and they love to use it. I used it a lot to make demos, but I never used it to make real recordings, like real full-blown recordings. And I didn't know what to use to do it. And I'm thinking I want a recording studio, meaning I want to be able to raise the finances to go into a major recording studio and make a serious album. I've been dealing with this for years as I went through life, and I made a lot of demos. I met my producer that I was really working with. I worked with my brother. I worked with a few other people he knew. I worked with some other people in doing just like a song or two. I worked with myself in doing a demo or two, meaning albums, and recording like instrumentals and stuff. But when it came down to it, I met somebody that was amazing as a producer. The problem is, number one, I didn't know my true self, who I am today, and the way I want my voice to be. I didn't know that. And we never got past an EP, okay? And I bugged. I wanted to do an album. So I started reaching out to publishers. I figured the EP should be good enough to give people insight of what I'm able to do, okay, as a recording artist. Unfortunately, nothing ever worked out for me, and time goes on, and then you write more songs. And you reach out to people, and nothing. And can I tell you, I finally got to the point when I was here that I realized I'm going to have to get a DAW. And people hinted to me. They hinted to me for years, since 2000 and I would say realistically, it was probably 2003 or 2004, because that was the time that I kept on bugging my one producer to record. I want to record a whole album. When are you going to be able to get on this? When are we going to be able to get together? When are we going to be able to lay down the vocal track, the guitar track? When I want to do more songs than just one or two. I mean, I had to torment him all the time. So with that being said, that's the way it was. And I was talking to other people about it, and they mentioned Cakewalk. They mentioned Pro Tools was a big one, Pro Tools. And I seen it, and I got a band. I had Cakewalk, and I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it on a computer. I want to do it in a real recording studio. And I was really hoping for a producer. And the gentleman that was helping me at the time, I really liked the way he was working with me. I loved it when we finally got together. It was magnificent. Unfortunately, we were not getting the work done in the studio that I was hoping for. He had his own personal life. He had other things going on. I want to do it. I'm all in. I'm ready to go. Now here's the thing, but I didn't want to do things on a DAW, and I couldn't find a record company or a producer that would work with me other than him. So that's the way that happened. When I finally got out here and people were telling me, even in my NSAI group, Nashville Songwriters Association International, out of Dayton and Cincinnati, Ohio, can I tell you, I loved writing. And I love getting together with everybody. And when I heard some of the recordings, I asked, what are you using? Pro Tools, Cakewalk, is it Reaper or what have you? They were using all these different DAWs, what they call DAWs, on their computers and things. And I was hearing their quality recordings, and I thought, that's really good. But I'm still thinking in my head, in all honesty, I'm thinking in my head that there's probably even a higher quality, not on a DAW, but in whatever a real studio is. Where's the thing that I found out? Later on in life, I ended up, meeting and going into a recording studio, and I was never satisfied with the recordings. So I never used them except for to make my videos online. That was it. And I shared the actual CDs with my friends and everything, but it was a lot of, it was rushed for somebody like me. In other words, I can't just go into a studio and record. If I'm going to sit down and record, I need to literally sit down, and it's going to take a long time to do it. So I'm better off to have my own studio. And what ended up happening is I finally knuckled down, and I got myself a Studio One DAW. It was the 2.0, and I found out it was only out for a few years at that time. So it was like out in 2011, if I'm not mistaken. Now it's 2014. So I have 3 years of catching up. Because I found out that with this DAW, I could also do what I used to do for anyone who ever saw my live shows. I used to do drum machine programming with bass lines. So I had some programming experience when it comes to music. With that being said, I got this DAW, I got plugins, I was downloading all these different plugins and stuff and trying different things, watching tutorials, learning all that I could about these DAWs. And you want to know something? I went through mental hell, headaches, because it was a constant learn, and I didn't have anybody to talk to. So I watched tutorials, YouTube tutorials. I learned all the details. And can I tell you, I almost pooped myself when I started to realize, because the first few songs, like Crazy Life, I posted online. You can hear it. And I think Harvest Freedom, if I'm not mistaken. You can hear some of the first recordings that I made with this DAW, Studio One. During the time of me recording with Studio One, I realized that everything I was talking about as far as to the flaws within the DAW, tracks bouncing around or not staying, they weren't staying in their position properly. It started to make me, meaning the track or the buzz, for whatever reason, I won't know until I start to use it again exactly the details of it. But there's flaws within the DAW that were very irritating to me. I would talk about them to myself, announcing them. I talk to myself all the time. And I realized that the Studio One 3.0, that I am not kidding with this, everything that I mentioned and above, beyond, everything that I mentioned that should be fixed within the DAW or added to it, for the most part, was fixed or added to the 3.0. I had the sensation that I was being used, now this is a sensation I had, that I was being used by Studio One to develop their 3.0. Now you don't have to believe me, but in my opinion, if I had a program of some sort or an object like a camera. And I gave it to you to use because maybe I value your opinion, maybe I just want to see what you think of it. I might give you a report and ask you to fill it out. Tell me what you think. What do you think should be replaced on it? What do you think should be added? Is there anything you think should be taken away? What do you like? What do you not like? Can I tell you that that didn't happen to me? I didn't get a survey, nor would have I filled it out anyway, most likely, just because. But the truth of the matter is, I felt like I was being watched and listened to closely, and everything that I talked about when it came to the doll, my likes and dislikes, were showing into the Studio One 3.0. I even pointed this out to other people about the different things that I was experiencing within my 2.0 later on. And I made some comments. Some you might have seen it, you might not have seen it. They might have taken it down on YouTube, if you will. This was very frustrating. This was me acknowledging that not only are they watching me when I'm busking on the street, but the chances are they are invading my privacy while I'm writing songs, while I'm recording, while I'm going to the bathroom, taking a shower. One of the sensations I had was when I was standing over here in the shower. And I was taking a shower, and I had the sensation that there were people via satellite, if you will. Some manner, they were watching me very, very closely. In other words, in my natural habitat, just like more likely they might be doing all over America or the planet, most likely are. This got very frustrating because I don't appreciate if Personas was using me as a resource. And the problem that I have with this is there's no reason why somebody like me should be dirt poor. There's no reason why I had to go through all the struggles and near-death experiences. Considering that I am a heck of a songwriter, recording artist, entertainer, and all-around person. I have a lot of talent in many different areas, not just with music. And otherwise, I'm just a human being anyway that desires to do something. With that being said, you get sick of hearing that there's like 1% that has all the money and the possessions. How do they do it? Has anybody ever stopped to think maybe it's because they invade the privacy of the general masses, and anytime they're on to something like these songs, that they start using people as a resource, and that they steal things from them, from their Dropbox, from their Google accounts, okay? They download videos, and then what? If you have a YouTube account and you have a whole bunch of YouTube videos you share and you're constantly sharing them, one of your YouTube videos may disappear, but you don't know about it, okay? Because you're not paying attention, maybe. Maybe. I'm not saying you're not, but maybe you're not paying as much attention. I pay attention to the details. So I notice everything. And that's one thing I noticed with the Studio One that really upset me. I was going to continue on with Studio One, meaning buy the next upgrade when I go to do my album Ragtop Cadillac. As I get ready to do that, as I'm moving forward now, I realized I don't want to give any more money to companies like Personas or whoever they are. Because I realized in that situation that it appeared, at least to me very clearly, that everything that I was suggesting should be done to the doll was done in the 3.0. And I don't have the list of details right now. But I could go over it. If you want me to and you want to put me to the test, all you got to do is leave a comment down below. Make sure you hit the like button too. Or send me an email at tracilyn21@gmail.com. And if you want to put me up to the challenge, I'll open up my 2.0 sometime and I'll make a video. And I will tell you, because once I get started on this next album, all that stuff's going to come back to me again. Because I'm still using the 2.0 as long as I can. I'm not saying I would never buy the upgrade to Personas, but at that time I was thinking I don't ever want to buy anything with the Personas name on it. Why is that? Because they're a corporation, in my opinion, that has access directly to invading the privacy of recording artists and listening to them speak, if they're speaking to themselves or speaking to anybody in the room, that they have access to directly downloading the actual files and the song wave files, meaning in the files, especially when they're being put onto storage bins or storage accounts like Dropbox. And I'm going to talk more about that. So these are sensations that I started to have while I was in my recording studio. That was very frustrating to me. What I wanted to tell you is, the last experience I had with a recording studio is I went down to Nashville near the end of the summer. I met that Stephen C. Johnson at the Commodore. When I ended up leaving Huber Heights at one time, just before October, September, at the end of September, I went into my sister's place in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, and I had a picture on my computer, basically of a house with a lake. Okay, I would love to take you up to Derby, New York sometime. I got a communication on my Facebook, Tracilyn, for facebook.com/Tracilyn Michael. If I'm not mistaken, that's the account it was. I still have it, but I deactivated it. I was thinking of opening it up again. Now, here's the thing. I got a message from this person, Stephen C. Johnson. I ended up going to his house in Derby, New York. We talked, and let me tell you something. I thought he was one of the nicest people I ever met. Okay? Most certainly a nice house, nice area of New York, quiet, by the lake. It's the place where I had an experience where I went down to the lake on like a beach area, and I picked a butterfly up out of the water, and I felt this direct connection to the entire universe. Oneness. Now, what I realize now is it might be possible that they beamed me or they zapped me via satellite and just gave me mentally the sensation of that. I would hate that to be true, but I had that feeling of oneness with the entire universe, the planet. It's the first time since my childhood that I ever felt that. I spent some time on the beach. There was a guy on a four-wheeler from one of the houses next door that kind of resembled Elvis Presley Jr. to a point. Sort of looked like that. We talked a little bit. And I was hanging out at the house. That's where I got to meet Willie Nelson's crew, if you will. It's all happened kind of fast within a 2-week span. I got to talk with Stephen outside on his back porch. More so or not, a lot of the stuff that was coming out of his head just wasn't in alignment with the kind of person I want to be or communication I want to be engaged in. Okay? Things like telling me that, like with a lot of songwriters, there's usually something wrong with their head, right? Their teeth usually fall out and rot out. You know, they're usually crazy. There's a few other things that I could list down for you, but it was the way he was talking about this. And he told me, he said, very little ever gets done in this business in contractual writings. Okay? Already, I'm thinking to myself, I don't like what I'm hearing. I don't like the way he's talking about other people. He mentioned to me that my voice changed. As he's sitting beside me, he says, your voice just changed. And when other people were coming over, he was running like a little kid, going and talking to them. And I realized when I was paying attention, I try not to be nosy, it seemed like he was gossiping. Okay, this gentleman had to be like in his 40s or 50s. And he's acting like a tiny little brat, in my opinion. And I don't like what he's talking about when it comes to people's teeth rotting out and stuff, and he thought it was funny. I noticed that he invested a lot of time on a little tiny computer that he had. And that's where he spent, the time that we shared a lot of conversation with. With that being said, I don't want to go too deep into the relationship, but one of the things that happened is he ended up introducing me to a bass player, Jason Odo, and he also had me meet a gentleman by the name of Tony. We ended up going to his drum shop. This person, Anthony, we ended up meeting, and I learned that he drummed for various recording artists prior years, like Madonna, if you will, and a few other people. So I paid attention to the names that were being tossed around and things. I'm thinking I'm getting closer to what it is I desired when I went down to Nashville, which was a publishing deal for my music. With that being said, when we got together with these people, we went into a recording studio that is outside of Buffalo, New York. When we got there, actually before then, he had mentioned to me about going to the studio to make a recording, and I told him I do not want to do it because I was extremely sick. I had a temperature of over 100 degrees. And this is real. Usually in October, especially when I was younger, I got sick, like consistently. It was always prior to my birthday. And this was right around my birthday in October. With that being said, we went to the studio. We made a recording of Ragtop, Let Your Love Flood Through My Soul, Living the Life, and Don't Mean a Thing. She Don't Mean a Thing. It's a Heartbreaker is what I call the song. With that being said, I was sick and I was in their studio and everyone was pretty cool, I guess. I wasn't into it. I didn't really want to be there. The bass player had made a smart comment to me because of the appearance of me not looking too interested in being there. And can I tell you, I just simply alone knew that it was time for me to go. I went back to his house. I went to sleep. Right after midnight, actually. He came home or to his house. He got me up. I went downstairs and he played the songs for me. And can I tell you, I didn't like them. I didn't like them because I didn't understand like I do now. It wasn't in my vocal key. It was not a polished sound by any means. The details were not straightened out. As a songwriter, they were an okay presentation. And I have them on my YouTube page. I have those recordings on my website at tracilyn.com. But as much as I wanted it to be, it was not going to work as a recording artist. He never made any kind of contract or offered any kind of contract of anything in writing. I ended up waiting for, the full trip was approximately 2 weeks, just about 2.5 weeks. I realized that in our conversations, evidently he sees things one way, I'm not seeing things the way he sees them, I'm leaving. I left. I checked back with him a short time later. I forget how long of a duration it was, but I ended up meeting him just down the road where I believe he lied, and he told me that he sold the other property. He was at a farmhouse, and that's a long story. I don't want to talk about that right now, but I realized that this guy was more into playing head games. I drove all the way up to New York wasting my time to hear silly little stuff as he's showing me, this chunky little model girl for Mercedes, I guess it was. And he's letting me know that he got her a model deal or something like that. And, I'm thinking, okay, so that's really nice. And, he would ask me things like with this other recording artist or songwriter that he had in his presence at some other times by the name of Valerie, he would keep on asking me if I thought that she was a transsexual female. What do I think? And I got to be honest with you, it's the way he asked me, I really didn't appreciate it. Whether she was a transsexual female or not, that's not why I was in his life. I was, wondering if he's really serious about possibly working with me in the songs. Unfortunately, nothing was ever put into writing, and that was the last time that I talked to him. In 2012, when I was on the streets, I realized that the son of a bitch is watching me via satellite. Okay, I have to change this over. I realized he is watching me via satellite, and he's sending messengers to me, or he's getting in people's head passing by and getting them to come over and talk to me. But it was directed in a manner that I knew without a shadow of a doubt because of the conversations we had prior at his house and at the farmer's house, or at the farmhouse. I realized that this guy is a creep because he knows details about me while I'm in the privacy of my home.